Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Fan Open Mic Night. I know it's night time somewhere in this world that may be, but thank you ever so much for obviously keep hitting that play button, keep hitting that subscribe button, keep hitting that bell icon, and select all because you'll be notified anytime when I do any videos for you guys. Now, I want to say to you guys is that I want to reflect on something. Now, what I want to say when I say this, right? Hangman Adam Page has been the AEW champion for a little bit of a time compared to like some of the runs we've actually had in recent times towards AEW. Now, with that said, it's been teased obviously since Dynamite, and then obviously looks like it's going in full throttle towards obviously having Hangman Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher. Now, the thing is, I'm glad in a way they literally have built Kyle Fletcher as a monster heel, because end of the day, AEW, when they had the likes of John Moxley as champion, yes, it was kind of dark, but not as dark as Kyle Fletcher could be, because even though John Moxley is the leader of the Death Riders, and it's a dark group, and I feel like it's necessary at the moment, do I dare say it, the momentum going forward, the way Kyle Fletcher has been, like he's took out Dustin Reynolds, he's took out Adam Cole. Obviously, he didn't take out the likes of Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, but the way he was literally shooting this shit, it seemed like he was part of it, because obviously he's had matches obviously with those two. So obviously it adds to the fuel to the fire towards the storyline that obviously we know the way Kyle Fletcher's gone with the Don Callis family. Now, here's the thing is, I think that AEW should put Winner Takes All all out in a few weeks. More than just Kyle Fletcher having a title shot, because that will mean that his title's not on the line. It will mean so much more, if you know what I mean. I hope you know what I mean. I keep saying that, I know. But I've been sitting here and thinking since the obviously episode of Collision, and I look at the way it's going forward, and obviously the way he was saying pretty much, how's the company going to cope out with the likes of Will Ospreay? How's the Swerve Strickland? How are they going to cope with such and such, such and such without them? And it was like, me. Now, when I saw this, I had chills. Right? To the point, down to the bone, no bullshit to you when I saw this. And I thought, Kyle Fletcher is the AEW World Champion. Now, that would be interesting because obviously you can dub him as like the Legend Killer, if you want to say that, because people making him come across like a Randy Orton sort of figure back in the day. Now, I'm all for that comparison because I look at that comparison and then you look at the way Kyle Fletcher was last night. I want to see him more dark and sinister. Like, you might want to say like the Randy Orton in 08 / the likes of Samuel Shaw when he was actually in TNA, not the way he is part of the White Six in Dexter Lumis, the way he is in the White Six. And I literally look. Obviously, Dexter Lumis was in NXT, and I'm not saying obviously his WWE name because I can't remember which part of the White Six, but you get what I mean. I wouldn't mind seeing some of that inspiring sort of aspect to his character to see how much dark and more sinister he can actually get. Because he's got talent, and it's living proof that AEW future-proofed themselves because they knew they would lose so many of their main roster. And why not? Have him a title run to see what's going to come from this. Because I look at the way Kyle Fletcher is. he's that annoying. He's pissing me off, and it proves that he's doing his job correctly. And that's saying something. And to see him have that step forward to him doing him versus Hangman Adam Page at All In. I mean, All Out, sorry. That I'm all for this if he has the title run. It could be a long run. I feel like when the likes of MJF in the past has pushed himself to the limit, to the point where he's pushed himself to broadcast to be cut off pretty much. But you got to think it's TV 14, and I feel like the love affair with me and certain heels in the wrestling business has been good at their jobs, and Kyle Fletcher's up there. He's up the likes of with John Moxley. He's up there with the likes of, to carry on the gimmick, obviously. He's up there with MJF. And for him to have a world title shot and him possibly having a run with it, I'm all for it. Because it will keep people entertained. Even though, yes, Hangman Adam Page may not have a long title run, obviously, of this. But at least one thing, this title run technically be more memorable. And the way Kyle Fletcher's been in the ring as well, winning numerous of matches and being dominant, it's handed you on a platter to do this, to actually give us that credibility, and that's what I like about him. He's the AEW future is very dark and sinister because they need to start pushing the boundaries once again with TV 14. Yes, I'm impressed with the weekly products, don't get me wrong, and the pay-per-view, but I feel like they need to push it a lot more than they have been recently. Go over the top of it. And I'm all for this. Because I look at the bigger picture and I'm like, this is a golden opportunity to someone else that is a fresh face as the champion. This is a giant FU to one of the four pillars that was actually started the company, that has basically made themselves a household name from this. Remember when they first started in 2019, they had the likes of Sammy Guevara, MJF, they had the likes of Hangman Adam Page, Chris Jericho to a point, but I'm on about the young talent that people talk about still to this day. And then obviously Kyle Fletcher is one of those new brand talent that is like pushing them aside. It's his time to shine. That's what I like about it. And it's the same thing with the women's division. You look at the likes of Toni Storm building up a fatal four-way with her, Chris Statlander, Tekla, and the likes of I forgot the other person's name now. I do apologize. Bear with. So that's what I mean. It's like you literally look at that. Sorry, Jamie Hayter. And that's so wide open. If you're that optimistic, people say wrestling's so predictable. AEW at the moment has been not that predictable as you may think. Because you look at the way that fatal four-way has been produced out the blue, yet alone, four great women. One thing I feel like AEW somewhat deliver on, fatal four-ways, triple threat matches, even, yes, singles matches, don't get me wrong, but they seem to deliver every time. Even though they deliver a makeshift tag team at the moment with Bandito, that looks, and Brody Lee. Not Brody Lee, where am I going? Oh, brain fart, I do apologise. But if you know what I mean, they've done a makeshift tag team and it's worked out for them. But that's what I mean. I look at that, and then you literally got the likes of Riho versus Mercedes Moné out of the blue. Everyone's thinking that Ryo's the one to dethrone Mercedes Moné, and I'm thinking, I can't see it. I don't mind if a young talent that dethrones Mercedes Moné, but Ryo's been out of the company for a bit. You never know; she might have improved since obviously her I think it's been a year or so until she came back. Then you obviously that's why I look at that and I'm literally just blown away with everything. And then you've got a Legends tag team match, pretty much FTR versus the likes of Cope and Adam Copeland and the likes of Christian, and that's going to be a good match. They stack the cards thoroughly when I think about it, and I'm literally looking at this and I'm like, wow, we're going to be spoiled all out again. I was spoiled at Forbidden Door Live. Obviously, you can check out the vlog on my vlog channel. Cheap blog for myself, please do. Obviously, I went Pro Wrestling Eve as well. But that's what I mean. AEW has a bright future, even though it looks very dark. And that's what I like about AEW. They've literally future-proofed themselves. You look at Jon Moxley versus the likes of Darby Allin in a coffin match, which is technically a buried alive match. So, or is it? You never know. They could put their own spin on it. This card to me looks amazing. I'm sick of people literally shooting AEW down. All right. People may think I shoot WWE down, but the reason why I do it is because they're annoying at the moment. They just rely on the moments. Always rely on the fucking moments to captivate people to talk about them. The amount of people done live. The weird thing about it is, right? I don't mind people when they do live reactions. But the problem is where it gets to the point where they're hoping they're going to get noticed or their clip's going to be used on WWE programming, probably flashing up on Monday Night Raw. And I saw a TikToker the other night or early this morning. It was last night, turning around and saying AJ Lee literally return got 93 million hits in 12 hours. And I'm like, I saw the person that fucking tweeted it, and this guy lapped this up, and I'm thinking, are you thick in my head? Because the only reason why I think that person's thick in his head is because no way in the slightest that WWE would attract that many people just for one return. Let alone they're lucky enough to get 3 million people to watch the product. Let alone where the hell does this person get the numbers from? And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, that doesn't make any sense. Because only a few weeks ago, people in the United States was complaining about the ESPN deal. Like I've said to people that on that video that you've encouraged literally people to legally stream it now. And the thing is, the one thing that made me laugh was when I talked about Stephanie McMahon promoting Surfshark and telling them about Netflix doing it that way. No, people are going to use VPNs, probably use your discount to make WWE some more money to obviously watch it illegally. People still watch illegally streams, believe it or not, in 2025. Because times are hard, money's hard. I know that, but what I'm getting at is anyway, end of the day, because I look at the way All Out 2025 is, I feel like this is so underrated at the moment by a lot of wrestling fans. I appreciate all wrestling if it's done right, but not just for the moments, because it's like now I see on a TikTok, AJ Lee for the Intercontinental Championship, please make this happen after WrestlePalooza and all this lot. And I'm thinking, you were the same people that were shooting Brock Lesnar when he was working fucking part-time, even though the rumours and speculated that AJ Lee's contract is full-time. But that video I saw of her signing for WWE with Triple H, that's the smallest contract I've ever seen. I've seen one page, if you're lucky, in that folder. Normally, if anyone watched the Page documentary, when she signed for the company, You know, when it came through by FedEx, it was like that thick. How can you literally say that's the contract signing? You know, staging shit after shit after shit for those views. You know, there's crawling to try and get that money back, granted. But I look at the way AEW is at the moment, I feel like it's in a far superior state than when it first started, you know? And I know fucking Cody keeps badmouth. Cody loves to badmouth pretty much AEW, but you don't say exactly what went off between you and Tony Khan. But I feel like Tony Khan and the Young Bucks and the likes of Kenny Omega, the way they've done things, they've talked wrestling more to the mainstream, if you know what I mean. And that's just me being honest. For what they've actually done in a short space of time, no wrestling company's ever done that. It took TNA pretty much 4 years to get the gears rolling to people to get to tune into the product, even though they were doing the weekly pay-per-views. But you look at it when they got a TV deal. Yeah, fair enough, they got a TV deal, they got a game deal out of it, etc., etc., etc. Similarities what AEW did. You know, they had a division that people talked about, but people used to shit all over TNA. But then you look at since the working relationship, or just prior to before that being signed, that no one badmouthed them. You know, they always love to compare the ratings and all that lot, but you don't see people compare the likes of TNA ratings anymore. You know, that's what I mean. I look at the way, I like the way All Out is shaping up. You know, I'm really impressed with what they actually do. I'm intrigued already what Full Gear's got to offer us. The likes of the next pay-per-view after that. Was that Wrestle Destiny afterwards? And then Full Gear or something like that. Either way, guys, I don't know why, but they're doing very, very well, and that's just me being honest. You know, they made me proud to be a passionate wrestling fan, and that's just me being honest. I don't know why people shoot it down, but it is weird that WWE still, this day and age, 2025, you are relying on a women's wrestler from 10 years ago to bring in the numbers. You know, and I'm just waiting for it to backfire on them. Because remember, I've been on social media since 2010. I saw the backlash that AJ Lee used to get. You know, I feel like, yeah, you're entitled to your opinions. Yeah, you're allowed to live react. But what I'm getting at is, to everyone that's watching this, I feel like, yeah, you grew up watching her. Fair enough. But you probably have been too young to understand what social media was all about. I've been through the dark side of social media to the point where it's been in the highs and the lows and everything. And that's what I mean. It's literally, I saw a load of people used to review her, didn't glamorize her the way she's been glamorized at the moment. The shit she used to get on social media before social media was in the media spotlight. I've seen forums, death threats, fan fiction of, you know, that sort of fan fiction, everything. You know, everyone gets it, don't get me wrong, apart from me, obviously. I'm honoured not to get fan fiction that way. But if you know what I mean. So, people need to stop firelighting certain wrestlers, don't get me wrong. But you've got to realise there's women and men that have come in that company just for those moments, don't get me wrong. But then when I look at it, I'm thinking, okay, you're overshadowing the women that are actually paved the way in current times with the likes of WWE. That's why I like AEW, because these are the wrestlers they've overlooked, or they've got a second chance in a company. You know, same way as I respected TNA before the working relationship. You know, and that's just me being honest. That was a giant F you to the diehard TNA fans. And I look at this spectrum and I'm thinking, I look at WWE and I'm thinking, okay, in 5 years' time, you're going to bring back someone literally from 5 years ago back for that spotlight. You're always going to be doing that. It frustrates me. Yeah, fair enough, they brought Brock Lesnar back on the same night, and that's just me being honest with you. I feel like they used AJ Lee to escape from, obviously, the backlash from what people would have been talking about if he came back himself. And that's just me being honest. It just really, really frustrates me to feel that a big company like that is just still relying on the moments. We've seen it for many years as wrestling fans. But when the likes of Shawn Michaels came back in 2002, it's the same principle back then. Even before then, or was it 2002? Yeah, you look at the way they brought NWO in the WWE. You've gone through that same sort of spotlight sort of thing that has been spotlight hugged by someone else when someone else in the roster could be deserving that spot. It's the inconsistency that really frustrates me the most. They dropped the bandwagon off Lyra at the blue just to fill in the void with AJ Lee now. Same with Nikki Bella when she came back in the company. It proves how dated her moveset was. But I digress on all that. But the future looks bright for AEW, and yet looks very dark at the same time. And I'm intrigued if Kyle Fletcher actually wins Hangman Adam Page. To be honest, I feel like he should win it. And that's just me being honest. If he doesn't, I'm still happy because at the end of the day, I respect what Hangman Adam Page stands for. But I feel like, is this time for Kyle to shine? I think it is. That's just my point of view. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video here on Open Mic Night. Please, please, please keep hitting that subscribe button and obviously that bell icon so you'll be notified anytime when I do any videos on this very channel. Thanks, guys, for listening.